My name is Ginny Washburn, and I am a director for the DEN community for the Urban Partnerships team, and I live in the Chicago, Illinois area. I work very closely with my esteemed colleague, Janita Damian, who's also joining us this evening, who's based in the LA area. So this is another one of our What's the 411 webinar series, and this is a monthly webinar series where we focus on 4 integration strategies, 1 program, and 1 trending topic. And I'm really excited for this evening's topic. We're focused on accessibility, and our very own Porter Palmer is joining us to talk about that topic. So let's go ahead and dive into our first of our first of the 411, which is the 4 integration strategies. We pulled these from our S.O.S, or Spotlight on Strategies, and these are weekly digital media integration challenge strategies that provide really simple, easy-to-use strategies for educators so that you can use digital media with specific strategies and incorporate it into your current curriculum. So just to review with you really quickly how you find this series, when you visit the DEN blogs, and that's www.denblogs.com, you're going to see across the top a variety of options, and one of the options towards the center is S.O.S. So once you click on S.O.S, you will see all of our Spotlight on Strategies, our S.O.S series listed. These are posted on Mondays, and what's nice about all of these is that each of them have a PDF version. So when you click on Silence is Golden, for example, you can download a PDF version so that you can easily share it with your colleagues or have it for reference in your classroom. And each of these challenges provides a background about the challenge, an example of how to use it, and a bonus as well if you want to step it up and take it to the next level. So the first of our S.O.S series integration strategies this evening is called Visual Walkabout. So this is the idea where you engage students in a concept that is going to be covered by providing them some sneak peeks of important components through the presentation of a series of images. So as students are walking around the room, they're looking at different images and taking note of these images. So what this allows educators to do is it allows them to assess prior knowledge and address early misconceptions. So let's say, for example, that I have a number of images that are displayed throughout my room. These are all images that I've pulled from Discovery Education. So I could post these images, and maybe I'd have 4 or 5 more around the room. And under each photo, I could have a T-chart. So on the left-hand side of the T-chart, it would say the connection, and on the right-hand side, it would say our questions. So the idea here is what you would do is explain to the students that you are about to begin a unit maybe on the Civil War, and ask students to share what they know about the Civil War with the group. After that, you would have the students work in pairs or groups to visit a minimum of maybe 5 of the images that are throughout the room. And as they go to those images, they discuss the connection that they believe that it has to this unit of study and what questions maybe they have based on what they're seeing in that image. So after they do that, you can even bring them back together as a whole group to discuss the different images they saw, what questions they have, and what connections they believe that particular image has to the unit of study. So that is our first integration strategy called Visual Walkabout. Our second integration strategy for the evening is called Get a Clue. And this is a quote that I think really talks about the importance of context and that students really need to understand context in order to truly interpret and verify the meaning of words and sentences. So teaching them or guiding them through how to identify context. So this particular example would be leveraging a video segment and leveraging the transcript feature. So let's say, for example, that I inform my students that we are going to be studying physics of motion through examining roller coasters. So I would either hand this out or maybe put this up on the screen for all of them to read, and I would share this text with them and have them read through this text. After they've had a chance to look at the text and read the text, I would show a video segment, or a series of video segments maybe, where they are learning about these roller coasters. But here's the twist. I would play these videos silently, so with no sound. All they would see is the actual video. So what happens is that they would be carefully examining the visual context clues to match what was written in the written context clues that's provided in the text that I had on the previous slide. So as they watch the video segments, you could have the students circle some words from the text that match something that they saw represented in the segment. And after they watch the video segments, you could have them do a quick pair share and then discuss as a class by identifying what are the written context clues that they actually saw in the videos. So that is our second, called Get a Clue. And again, I have a little arrow up here on the screen that shows you when you search for an image within Discovery Education, many of the images have that transcript as an option. So when you click on the transcript, it gives you the entire word-by-word transcript of the video. So our third integration strategy this evening is called Vocabulary Stepping Stones. And this is an idea where you, this is actually an idea that came to us via Susan Bowden, who is a Den Star from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is an idea from reading.org, which is a phenomenal website. So the idea being here that all of these words that you see on the screen, related, species, animals, organisms, plants, diversity, you would print out these words and have students cut them up and mix them up. And then in small groups, you would have students discuss which words are familiar to them and their understanding of the meaning of each of those words. And then they would share out as a whole group. And then you would supplement this with having them watch a video. So as they watch a video, they would place the words in the order that they are heard within the segment. So these are all words that are taken directly from a short video segment that I was going to share with my students. So again, as they're watching the video segment, they would work maybe in pairs or in small groups to place the words in order as they are heard in the video segment. And then after the video segment is over, we can go back to those words and discuss the sequence and discuss how they were used in the context of the video, and maybe have students share out what they found most interesting. And that is Vocabulary Stepping Stones. And our last integration strategy of the evening is called Make It Concrete. So the idea of this, concrete or shape poems, they've been utilized in classrooms for years. But this strategy puts a twist on the concept by using it as an instructional strategy to have students reflect upon and share something they've learned through media. So let's say, for example, you play a video about solar power. There's a great video or series of videos about solar power with Bill Nye. So you could play one of those segments and then have students draw an outline of images that represent what they learned from the video. And then within each of those images that they're drawing, they fill those images with as many facts as possible based on what they learned by watching the video. And then they would share their images with groups and kind of discuss what facts they filled in each of the images that they drew. So it's kind of creating that linguistic and non-linguistic representation that they're filling these images with facts, but it's also allowing them to draw visually what the big takeaways are from that video. And again, that is called Make It Concrete. So those are our 4 integration strategies, and hopefully you enjoyed those and found those relevant, and it could be strategies that are easy to use in your classroom. Again, just to remind you, how do you find this series? You go to denblogs.com and click on S.O.S, and you will find all of the S.O.S strategies that are continuing to be posted weekly. So, and Janita just asked a question, which is a great question. I would love to know from the group, which strategy are you most interested in trying out? Which strategy spoke to you the most? So if you want to use the chat feature to share that, that would be fabulous. I love it. Love them all, Heather. Yes, they are phenomenal. wonderful resources. And again, because they're all posted in PDF, you can easily use these, print them out, create a little booklet as there's more each week, and share them with your colleagues. Awesome, Deb, visual walkabout, thank you. Okay, so moving right along here, the one program that we want to mention this evening is called the DEN Spring Virtual Conference, and the website for this is virtcomlive.com. So the virtual conference is being hosted this Saturday, or sorry, not this Saturday, next Saturday, April 20th, 2013. Every fall and every spring, the DEN hosts a virtual conference, and this is really, it's a free professional development opportunity for educators to learn about new and effective ways to incorporate technology and digital media into their classroom. And you can attend in the comfort of your own home with your pajamas on, or you can attend one of our many face-to-face locations that we have now. So I actually want to take just a second to show you how you would go about registering for this event if this is something that you're interested in attending. So let me take just a second to share my desktop. Give me 1 second here. Share my desktop. And if someone can just let me know in the chat feature when you are seeing my screen, you should see DEN Spring Virtual Conference. Awesome. Okay, so once you're here, you can take a look at the presentations. If you click on the presentation tab, that's going to give you a list of our 3 keynotes. We have a morning keynote that begins at 9 a.m. with Susie Boss. We have a midday keynote, and these times are all listed in Eastern time. We have a midday keynote around noon. Here we go, with Michael Ferdjuk, and I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his last name. And then we have a closing keynote, if we scroll all the way down here to the bottom, at 3 p.m. with Jennifer Wagner on selling the 7 C's of connections. So how you would register to attend for this virtual conference, and you can attend as much or as little of the day as you want, but what you will do, if I can scroll back up to the top for just a second, is, and because I'm logged in, I think I'm not seeing the option to, there should be an option, let's see, let me find one of the locations so I can show you what it looks like here. So let's say I wanted to attend this in person. There is a little button here, and because I'm already logged into this site, I can just click on this button that tells me that I'm registered to attend this particular in-person event. But off to the right-hand side, there is a great video that one of our colleagues, Chad, made on how to register for this conference. So basically, you just log on to virtcon.live. You have to register for the site, and then you register for the event, either just virtually or if you wanted to attend one of the in-person locations. And again, to find out if there's one near you, you just click on the Locations tab, and it will list all of our in-person locations, and you can click on those little dots on the map for more information. So let me go back to stop sharing for just a second, and that is our DEN Spring Virtual Conference. I think we have well over 2,000 people participating both virtually and in person. It's just really great. It's a great opportunity to connect with people virtually and or in person and learn new strategies. It's a really fun day, and all of these presentations, all of these virtual presentations will be archived and listed on that site. So if you are busy on the 20th but you want to take a look at some of the presentations maybe at a later date, they will all be made available to you. So that is our one program for the evening, the DEN Spring Virtual Conference. And at this point, I am going to pass the ball over to Porter Palmer, who is going to talk about our trending topic this evening on accessibility, reaching and teaching kids, all kids, the DE way. So Porter, let me change your role here, and if you can take yourself off mute. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
All right. Thank you so much, Jenny. So I just want to add a little disclaimer that I took the 411 piece really to heart, and that's sort of how I have organized the remainder of this presentations. So what you're going to see is 4 strategies and 1 program, and then 1 hot topic all around the idea of accessibility. So I know that's just how I roll. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. As Jenny said, I'm Porter Palmer. I'm the director of the DEN Global Community. That means my job is to create opportunities for educators just like you guys to connect and collaborate and learn. And so I invite you guys to connect with me on Twitter, where I am @DenPrincess. And you can also follow my ramblings and journeys at porterpalmer.com. Now, before I found my way to Discovery Education and the DEN, I taught special education in South Carolina. For several of those years, I taught kids with the most significant disabilities, like Benjamin here. So this is us on a field trip to a local greenhouse, and we are learning about science things like seeds and plants. And then we were also working on mathematics skills like making purchases. I also taught kids with milder disabilities like Wesley here, who is in all regular classes and who came to me in a resource room setting for about an hour each day for specialized instruction in reading, writing, or math. Now, that was some time ago. I left the classroom in 2001, and Wesley is all grown up now. He's turned out to be a fine young man, and I'm very thankful to have been a part of that. Now, I tell you that because I still try to keep up with what is happening in the world of accessibility. Now, because I'm no longer in the classroom, I rely heavily on the DEN to help me continue to learn about strategies and tools for reaching and teaching kids with special needs. And when I say special needs, I don't necessarily mean kids with disabilities. I just mean reaching and teaching all kids. The DEN is my personal learning network. Even though I'm not in a classroom anymore, I am still able to be a lifelong learner and be able to keep being an advocate for kids with disabilities and kids who learn differently. I believe that all kids learn differently. So tonight, I'm just going to be really honest with you. I'm not the smartest person in this room when it comes to teaching kids today about accessibility. I've already seen that Cheryl Woolwine has joined, and she could run circles around me. Kat Staten, God, never know how to pronounce your last name, and we're going to have lessons on it this summer at the DEN Summer Institute. She can run circles around me, and I'm sure that many of the others here are smarter than me when it comes to teaching kids today and about accessibility. However, I am connected to some super smart people, though. And I'd love to have all of the fabulous STAR Discovery educators join us tonight and share with you their tips for accessibility. And I would start with Kat Staten, now that I know how to pronounce her last name. Thank you. But unfortunately, we only have a few moments together. So I want to introduce you to my other self. Think of this as Puppet DEN Princess, okay? It's another persona, but I want you to think of me as the voice of the community, of all of these great people like Kat and like Cheryl. I am the DEN Princess puppet. So I called on some of the best and brightest folks in my PLN, and tonight I'm just going to be their instrument. I'm going to be their voice, and I'm going to be their puppet. So the first strategy I want to share with you comes from North Carolina DEN star Conni Mulligan. She also happens to actually be a very passionate puppeteer and a class of 2012 Den Guru. Now, here's a direct quote from Conni. She says, "I am absolutely in love with the built-in closed captioning features that Discovery has available for both teachers and students. These built-in features allow teachers and students to pause the videos and reread the content that was just discussed, to focus on terminology that is unfamiliar, as well as increase vocabulary for students as they follow along with the words that match the video." So this is an old strategy that I talk to people who have young children. I tell them, if your kids are watching any television at home, turn on closed captioning. You will get used to it. You won't notice it anymore, and it's going to make great strides for them learning to read. So that's a good strategy to have at home, but we also have it within Discovery Education. So I am going to share my desktop with you, and we're just going to walk through a little bit about the closed captioning. So here I am at the main page of Discovery Education after I have logged in, and I'm just going to do a search for airplanes. So I'm just doing a final search, nothing major going on here, but I want to show you where you can go and find which videos are closed captioned. So if you click on the video detail, and then I'm going to click on closed captioning, it's going to change what my choices are. And just for our purposes, I'm going to pop over because I like Mythbusters, so I'm going to go over to the Mythbusters video. And then we're going to go over here to flying the model plane, and I'm going to walk you through a handful of steps just to make sure that you are able to get to the closed captioning, because it's already built in. First step, look for the pretty flower called Settings. You can tell I'm a princess because I talk about that not as some sort of lug or wheel or whatever they would call it. It's a flower to me. Now, what I noticed a couple of days ago, gear, thanks, Deb. It's not a gear, it's a flower. I'm on a Mac, so I had my streaming settings set to QuickTime, and that's not good. See what it says right there? Closed captioning is not available for this format. So here's what I recommend. I recommend you come over here to the web, especially since Discovery says this is what's recommended. And I just went with the 300K because that is for streaming. But this is like super duper high resolution. If you've got lots and lots of bandwidth, and I'm guessing most of us don't, then you can click that one. But I would just go with this one right here. Then I'm going to click Save. Okay? And it shows you down here at the bottom that the video streaming settings are saved. Now it shows me that closed captioning is available, and so I'm going to click on the closed captioning, and I'm going to turn it on. And I can adjust the size. So you'll see the example text changing size. I can change the color of the text. So if I've got kids with visual impairments or kids, I taught a kid, his name was Azizi, and he was very distracted by any color related to Wheel of Fortune. And so I would want to avoid those colors. So white would probably have been a really good color for us to use for Azizi. And then you can choose the background color. And I can even determine where I want it to be, like right through the middle, which I would not choose to do. Up at the top, I'm going to throw it at the bottom. That's where it defaults to. I can even have it outline the edge, give raised, depressed. You get my point. There are lots of options here. I'm going to click Save. It's going to save my settings. And now you guys aren't going to be able to hear this because I just muted my computer. But hopefully if we all hold our mouths right, you will see that we have closed captioning turned on. And whether I pull this full screen or not, it's still there. Now, hopefully that rendered okay for you so that you got at least a taste of what it does. And then I just want to mention that, you can pause at any time and talk to your kids. Now, there's not probably complex vocabulary right here, but you can pause and play and pull up anytime, like conveyor belt. So, and then I just want to mention one other little thing because Jenny has already mentioned it. There's also the transcript. So I just clicked on transcript, and one of the things that completely geeks me out is I can click on a part of the transcript and it will take me to that portion, and then I just hit play. And it pulls that up, and you should see it moving as it goes. Okay. So that is the closed captioning. I'm going to exit out of this and come back with you guys. So that is our first strategy from Conni Mulligan. The next strategy that I want to share with you has already actually been one of the spotlight on strategies that have previously been done. But this strategy comes from Maryland Den star Tracy Carpenter. She's actually the artist who drew Puppet Den Princess as part of her application for the Den Summer Institute last year. She also helps manage the Den Vice page on Facebook. If you guys haven't seen that, check out the Den Vice page on Facebook. It is a page for Den members managed completely by Den members. It is their passion project. So Tracy's accessibility strategy is to mute the audio and tell the story yourself to students. So using the visual cues with your knowledge of where your students are and the vocabulary that they understand helps you simplify the content and make it more accessible. One of the things that I really dig is that you can take a video that is designed for much older students, turn off the volume to mute it, and then talk through it in a way that would be understood by your students. Our third accessibility strategy comes from Texas Den star Andrea Keller. Now, she was named TCEA Teacher of the Year in 2011. And I only mention that because I know that all of you are doing exceptional things in your schools and your district. That's why you are part of the Den, and I always want us to celebrate those great accomplishments. Now, her strategy has to do with virtual field trips. And so here's what she has to say about virtual field trips. She says, my students don't always get to attend. She teaches a lot of kids like Benjamin that I showed you at the beginning. So she says, my students don't always get to attend the activities that happen outside of my classroom. Then again, working in a low-income district, many students do not get to travel outside of their immediate living area. My students love the virtual field trips. Our first one was to the egg farm. What a great way for my students to learn more information about eggs and egg farms. My higher level students could help ask questions, and my lower level students could identify common objects. This year we loved seeing Peter Reynolds read The Dot. We had been working on it to celebrate International Dot Day with our school, and soon as the picture popped up, my students, all of them, recognized what we were talking about, the dot. So my colleague, Kyle Shutt, has curated a set of virtual field trips for you. They are at, and you don't have to write this down, I'm going to paste it in for you, but the short link is DLC, and that stands for Discovery Link Chopper, dlc.com/DE for Discovery Education, VFT Virtual Field Trip. And again, I'm going to share my desktop with you, and we're just going to go take a look at it. So Kyle is, he does a whole bunch of these virtual field trips, and one of the things that he does is he creates this nice little page for you to keep up with all of the virtual field trips. Like one from Kenya, the New York Stock Exchange. Here's one of my favorites, which is the DIN Dot Day, and I have it on pretty good authority. We may be trying to do something else to celebrate DIN Dot Day. So let me grab that and get you the link for it, and I'm going to stop sharing. And there is the link to the virtual field trips. And it's the same link as the one that I have right here. I just gave you the longer version. So you'll get to the same place if you've written down this one as you will the one that Deb has put into the chat window for you. So there's a question about what age are the field trips good for, and there really are a variety of ages. It really just depends on which one it is. I'll suggest to Kyle that he adds the information about ages. But, you know, with anything, Sasha, my recommendation is always that you as the teacher are the expert, and you should always review something before your students. And again, you know now that you can turn off the volume and talk your kids through anything that might be too complex for them. So that was strategy number 3. Time for strategy number 4. Just a shout out to my friend Cheryl Woolwine, who I just got off another webinar with, and as we were talking about it, she wanted to make sure that I gave credit that her idea actually is something that she built on from something that she learned from Hall Davidson. So she was using her PLN and then chose her favorite strategy and shared it with me. So the 4th strategy that I have to share with you tonight comes from Florida DIN star Cheryl Woolwine, who is right here in the room, so I hope that I do her justice. She serves on the DIN Advisory Board, which is part of the DIN Leadership Council. And here's what she wanted me to share. She says, I make multimedia kits for my students with editable clips, sound bites, and images, and other relevant resources for each project. And I place the project folder in Assignment Builder, and then they already have a variety of resources available. And then we're going to get to the last part of what she said, which is I can then add voice notes for directions as needed, and we're going to talk about that when we get into our program. So let me pop out, and I'm going to show you again. So I'm sharing my desktop, and we'll go back into our search of airplanes because we've been working on transportation, and we're going to always make the assumption, just as I mentioned to Sasha, that I have previewed these resources. We never just add something directly to an assignment without previewing it first, or you wind up being like I was the first time I decided to do a reading of Where the Red Fern Grows to my kids, and I didn't pre-read it, and I fell into a ball of just tears in my classroom. So don't be like me. Preview everything before you add it. But my little strategy is, okay, so I've watched this video about the airplane on a conveyor belt, the final results. I want to add that to an assignment for my students. My strategy is I do quickly adding it to my quick list, and I'm going to tell you why I do that. Now, let me go grab something else. Maybe I'm not going to do closed captioning because what I'm looking for is actually an image. So let's see. What do I have here? I have an ebook. I can add that. So I can add a variety of different types of things to my quick list, okay? I could then search for other modes of transportation like trains or cars, bicycles, all of those things, and I add them to my quick list. Now what I can do is click on List Options, and I'm going to add to a Builder tool. And I'm just going to use Assignment Builder. So I'm going to create an assignment, and I'm just going to walk you through this. This one is all about airplanes. And today I teach 3rd grade, and we're working on research study skills. I'm going to save and continue, and Deb is so right. It is so easy. It walks you right through. I'm going to click, I'm going to put it in transportation. I'm going to save it to a selected folder. And there it is. And then I can add information to it. So I can give assignment instructions. Now, here is the very cool thing that I'm going to show you in a few minutes with our program that we want to talk about, okay? There is this nifty little button here called HTML. All you have to be able to do to make really awesome things happen in this section is to be able to copy and paste. I know that you guys have seen, like on YouTube, or other websites, a thing called an embed code, E-M-B-E-D, embed code. If you can copy that code and paste it here, you can add it to your assignments. And so that's going to be an important little part of our next section. Now, I'm going to cheat. I've already created an assignment, so I'm going to go over to the assignment that I've created on transportation, just so that you guys are able to see it. So this is the student's view. So this is what it looks like from the student's perspective. Thanks, Deb. Okay? And do you see this cool little thing here called Audio Pal? Now, you aren't going to hear this well, but I'm going to hit play anyway, okay? Remember I told you all you had to be able to do is copy and paste? So if you had a YouTube video of you reading this, okay, that says, look through these resources, tell me which mode of transportation you plan to research more on your own. Now, for my kids who have difficulty reading, I've put in a way for them to listen to me. So I'm going to hit play, and let me bring my speakers over, my headset over to the speakers, just so you get a little sampling. I want you to review the materials that are in this assignment and be ready. Okay, so hopefully you were able to hear just a second of me talking, and I've turned it off now. So So they're just, you teach your students that, you know, if you see one of these, click play on it. Now, my philosophy, and we're going to talk about universal design here in a few minutes, my philosophy is if I type it into instructions, I also ought to have it either with pictures or with me reading it to the students so that they can actually choose. Now, here's what Cheryl tells me about this strategy. Sometimes she works with kids that the entire world of discovery education and searching there for resources is a little too big of a world for them. So she'll create these assignments for them, and then on their own, the goal here is they're going to go through this variety of things that I have pre-searched for them, and they're going to tell me what they plan to research more about. And so you saw I was already creating one on airplanes. So I am scaffolding their research for them. So that's the technique that Cheryl has. Now, I want to pop back out. Actually, I'm not even going to pop out. I'm going to just go directly to AudioPal, so AudioPal.com. And we're going to move directly into an audio message gets sorry, started talking to me. We'll go directly into the program. It is absolutely free. You are able to record a message either by using a phone or your microphone. I tend to use the microphone, but you can also use text to speech. So all you do, click Get Yours, it's free. And then you can choose how you're going to record your message. I'm going to do text. Well, why don't I just, no, I'm afraid to use the microphone while we're doing this together. So I'm going to type, this is my text. I love Den. Okay? And then I can choose the voice, blah, blah, blah. I can say it. And you guys can't hear that because I have it muted. Let's see if you can hear it.
This is my text. I love DEN.
Okay? Hopefully y'all could hear just a little bit of that. Now, the one catch is that you do need to give an email address, but they have never spammed me, not once. I put in my email address, and I click Get It, and it sends me that embed code. Remember that embed code that I said in the builder itself, you add that code? Let me show you what that looks like in here. So it's right here. So I'm going to click on HTML, and you're going to actually see this is the part that I copied and pasted. And I know that all looks just so confusing, but the only thing I needed to know how to do was click copy and then paste. All right? So I'm going to stop sharing my desktop. I'm going to say that we have talked about AudioPal, which is our program. And then finally, I just want to spend a few minutes on our hot topic. So we spent a lot of time talking about accessibility. Accessibility is what we do when we take something and make adjustments for students. We talk about assistive technology a lot. We do this all the time based on the individual needs of students. Now, universal design is actually different because it's not a retrofit. Universal design for learning is not a new topic. It's been around for years, at least since I left the classroom in 2001. I've known about it, yet it continues to be a hot topic. So a classroom that incorporates universal design for learning presents information and content in different ways. The classroom differentiates the ways that students express what they know. It stimulates interest and motivation for learning. And all of the strategies that we've discussed today can be used to implement universal design for learning when they are presented as choices for students and planned at the beginning of the instructional design process, okay? So as you're creating your lessons, I have a challenge for you. I challenge you to start simple by providing multiple means of representation. Remember, just like the example of where I used AudioPal, so I was providing both visual and auditory directions. So if you just do that, you are working on the recognition networks, those pink parts of the brain. I challenge you as you do that to begin to build in multiple means of expression. So you may love having all your students create amazing digital posters. And that's really creative, and I don't want to stop you from doing that, but I do want you to consider giving students choices about how they show what they know and understand. That's going to target those strategic networks. And then I challenge you to incorporate multiple means of engagement. So a photo might be just what some of your students love. Any of those S.O.S strategies, one of them may be the perfect fit for a handful of kids. But those S.O.S strategies are unlikely to be a perfect fit for all of our students. So giving them lots of choices is a challenge that I have for you. So a song or a dance might be the thing that engages others. So if you build it in from the beginning, multiple means, your instruction will be more accessible from the very beginning. So each of these strategies of multiple means affects different parts of our brains. Making sure your students have these choices really helps trigger the pathways to learning. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert on all things universal design, but I do have some good friends who are at cast.org, and they are real brain scientists. And then there are also folks that are involved with CAST as well, the UDL Center. And so those folks are the real experts on this. Remember, I am just a puppet. So I hope if you have any great ideas for using Discovery Education to make learning more accessible or even more universally designed, I hope that you will share it with me. I'm going to put my email address in the chat window. And again, you can find me on Twitter at DenPrincess. So hopefully if you have any great suggestions, you can send those my way, because who knows, your picture might show up in a future version of this presentation of the DenPrincess puppet. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you learned something that will help you make a difference in the lives of the kids that you work with.
You are awesome, Porter. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Standing ovation here in Chicago for you. The Den finger, absolutely. And Porter, if you can pass the ball, or actually I'll steal the ball from you for just a second. And I think this is a perfect transition into our next 411 webinar, which will be hosted on Tuesday, May 14th. It's all about the Den. Our focus is on the Den's Got Talent. So what we're looking to do on, and I'm just sharing the link for if you want to register for our next one in May, we're going to highlight some members of the Den and the information that they have to share, whether it's a strategy or tool or resource. So I think, Porter, how you have specifically shared some of the tools and strategies that you've learned through the Den community. We're going to continue that on our next webinar, where we'll have Den members presenting some of their favorite strategies and tools and resources. So For those of you that are on this evening, I might be reaching out to you directly, or if you are interested in being part of that Den's Got Talent What's the 411 webinar in May, send me an email, and I'll put my email in the chat window here. We would love to have you join us. So really quickly before we end this evening, the last thing that I wanted to share with you as well is your certificate of attendance. So if you would like to, and I'm going to copy this and give me 1 second, and I'll put this in the chat window as well. So tinyurl.com/April411. If you need a certificate of attendance this evening, you can print that off using that tiny URL. I know with the attendance certificate, we've had some issues with it in the past, so if you aren't able to get that link to work, when I send up a follow-up email for everyone that's attended this evening, I will send you a PDF copy that you can print off and put your name on as well. So if the link doesn't work, just let me know, and I'll send that in the follow-up email. But again, just wanted to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Porter, phenomenal job. Adore you and love your information, and thank you so much for sharing that this evening. And we hope to see you all again in May. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature. We'll stay on for a bit. Otherwise, thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.